I guess I need to turn this on. Let me start over. Y'all got to tell me when my mic's not on. I hate hearing myself. Call to order the June 6th meeting of the House Committee on Pensions and Retirement. Should be a relatively quick meeting. Have one bill to get through today. I'd like to thank our Sergeant at Arms, Jonas Cherry, Todd Jordan, Thomas Terry, and Stafford Young. And we've got some pages here today. I'll try this. Miranda Buford, Kendall Carpino, yeah, please stand. Jay Gupta, and Samantha Salvador. Thank y'all for being here today. Without further ado, we'll get straight to the bill. We're going to hear Senate Bill 729, CBBC Working Group Changes. Senator Bergen, you have the podium.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and committee. Thank you for allowing me to be here today. Back in the last session, we passed Senate Bill 688 to deal with pension spiking. And the reason we need to do this bill is for a couple of reasons. In the last bill, we established a 2-year litigation moratorium and set up a working group on lawsuits between school systems and the retirement system on the anti-pension spiking law. The working group is asking us now to approve 2 changes: that the retirement system would not assess a pension spike if the employee's salary was at or below the state mandated pay schedule during their highest 4 years, and that the retirement system would be authorized to settle existing cases using changes we made to the anti-pension spiking law after the cases were filed. The retirement system would also be allowed to use additional legal counsel because of the volume of cases. Before our moratorium, there were about 30 lawsuits at issue. Now there could be as many as 75 that would need to be addressed. The reason this is so important, we don't need the state treasurer's office and the school board association and school boards suing each other and spending money on that. So this just gives them time to get these resolved, and I'll be happy to answer any questions. Pretty quick.
Thank you, Senator. Any questions from the committee? Representative Gill.
Thank you. I just want to ask one question. How did it escalate from 30 to 75? I remember hearing this bill, but I thought 30 was the max.
Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Yes, ma'am. What's happened as we've adjusted pay and the other things have come into to play, the numbers just keep getting out of whack with it. And the big concern for all the retirees is we want everyone taking the amount of money they should take out, not because it's going to hurt other people in the system. So as far as the individual cases, I could probably ask for Sam Watts or someone to say how we've gone that way. I've been tracking it. When I first became aware of this years ago, there was one school system that owed back to the treasurer $500,000. And so that's really what started a lot of this, to try to get them resolved. But we have it with some of the community colleges. We have it's across a number of different places that we're seeing it. So it's not just the schools, it's a number of different entities. And the main thing is we don't need to be suing each other over that. Thank you, ma'am.
Any other questions from committee members? Representative Elmore.
Senator Bergen, what exactly does this bill do? Is it affecting any of the pending legislation that is happening, or pending lawsuits that's happening, or is it stopping it in time?
It's Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Representative. It is a pause. What it's allowing them to do is to work out the details on money that needs to be repaid, calculations that need to be redone. It's just saying, Sam Watts was telling me just a little while ago that I think there's 8 that are pending right now, that if we can stop it, if we can do this quickly, then it puts everything on pause to let them kind of work out those details. And you might want to call.
And maybe finish that, and he signed up to speak anyway. Mr. Watts, you're recognized for up to 2 hours. Not. You get.
I could do my entire platform in less than 5 minutes. Sam Watts, North Carolina Department of State Treasurer. Thank you for the question, Representative Elmore. What we worked out with the very wonderful working group we had with this.
It's on, but it's not loud.
Do I need to lean into it? Is that better?
I don't think that's working. can sit, maybe sit there, yeah. Yeah, you can sit and use that mic there if you need to. Thank you.
I'll just hunch over. Is this better?
Yes.
Okay. So we had a very productive series of meetings with the School Board Association and the school board attorneys that are working on the majority of the cases of litigation on the pension spiking law. And we came to the conclusion that, one of the things that made sense as a point that both sides could agree was reasonable was that if the state has a mandate for the minimum salary and provides that salary to the school system, then that also includes the contributions that should go to the retirement system. And so it should be appropriate, or it should match what is being sent to the school system. So we got to an agreement on that logic, and so that's how we got to the provision in the bill that lets us say, well, okay, if they're paying at the minimum, the state minimum, and not above, during the average final compensation period, the highest 4 years of salary, then the state would take the responsibility for setting the minimum at a level that created a loss to the retirement system. So that was part of the logic on it. So that was a significant give point from both sides to get to that little piece. And then the other piece that's in there that's very useful is you've passed a number of smaller changes, including a longer payment periods allowed since 2014. And we've done a few tweaks to the pension spiking law every year since then. We've talked them all in this committee. But allowing us to use the ones that you've made in settlements. In other words, so if you made a change, if we got a lawsuit that dates back to 2015 and you made a change in 2017 that would help us settle it, we could use the logic from what you've done as a part of that settlement agreement with them. And so that'll let us lengthen some of the periods, and our goal is to collect the funds owed to the state, to the retirement system, in excess of the ones that, or when the decision by the school board was to pay higher than the minimum and to a level that was creating a loss to the retirement system. And so that's where that landed. Now there's a little bit of urgency specifically with it's 8 different school systems. We're holding letters to 8 different school systems for multiple cases for each of those school systems on intercepting their state funds to pay for pension spiking invoices that happened during the litigation pause, or prior to the litigation pause, but were on hold during the litigation pause. You said a 2-year period. And so if this moves quickly, then those we have more time to work with the school systems on those to see if we can settle those or deal with those issues before they become lawsuits, because they may just simply, take on, agree to one of the longer payment periods or something like, or some of the other criteria that we think we can use to turn the heat down on the conversation on this. So that's our request, is that you move this expeditiously, and we do appreciate your attention to it, and we greatly appreciate working with the School Board Association.
Thank you, Mr. Watts. Follow up?
Yes, please. Is it inappropriate for you to share what 7 systems are in this limbo? Would that be better offline?
I think I'd rather,
I'll talk to you later.
I think let's talk later. It's a matter of, we haven't notified those systems, and I'd hate for the first place for them to hear it would be me, calling them out in a public meeting. And I think that would probably not turn the heat down on the litigation. That would probably turn the heat up a little bit.
Gotcha.
Sure. I'll talk with you later. And
Follow up.
Could I hear some comments from the School Boards Association?
If they'd like to. Nobody signed up. Well, hold on for 1 second. Are there any other questions right now from the? Okay, Mr. Watts, you signed up to talk. I know you answered a question. Do you have anything else to say?
I got nothing else to say.
Okay, thank you, sir. Yep, be glad to hear from the School Board Association. You can let us know who you are, your name, and who you're with.
Bruce Miltworth, North Carolina School Boards Association. Agree with everything Sam said. We have worked with the retirement system for roughly 2 years now to make this happen. We believe we've landed in a good spot for both sides. Neither got exactly what we were looking for, but that, compromise is where both have to give. And that's where we are, and we're satisfied and have enjoyed the process in working with the retirement system and with Senator Bergen. Because of his patience and leadership, we were able to get to this point, because it did take a little bit longer than I think initially anticipated. So thank you, Senator Bergen.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir. Representative Brody, for a question.
Yes, I think if you can possibly answer this, as a common denominator, are the lawsuits because we don't pay enough, or because we are, meaning the pension plan is not paying enough, or is it that they're paying too much? Is there a common denominator there in those type of suits?
So that might be, again, Bruce Miltworth, School Boards Association. That question is probably better suited for Sam, but I will say what we have seen over the years is that initially a lot of the cases involve superintendents, but because of the pay scales and what employees are making as teachers, we are seeing more and more cases affect central staff, central office employees. So it could be assistant superintendents, but it could also be, we're seeing more and more principals getting captured by the current process. And so the goal, as Sam was saying, if employee mandated schedule as a teacher, as a to rope them in if they were just following the state mandated schedule. And so that's part of what we're also trying to make sure doesn't happen
Thanks,
as
sir.
often.
Mr. Watts, you're recognized to add anything you need to that question.
Sam Watts, Department of State Treasurer. Representative Brody, thank you for the question. Generally, the pension spiking law is designed to make sure that when someone who makes over a certain amount of money, so it's only the higher wage and highest wage employees in the school system, when they retire, that there have been enough contributions put into the retirement system on their behalf to cover the cost of their pension. So that was the initial finding that the General Assembly used to create the pension spiking law. Now, I will say that part of we do recognize that some of the situations, some of the cases are because there's a little bit of a lag in how salary schedules respond to inflation. So there's an inflation adjustment built into the law so that you don't always push down to capture people that it wasn't designed to capture. But it takes a while for that to come into play. And so we think this addition of the, basing it off the minimum and being able to resolve these is going to be very helpful to address that.
Thanks, sir. Any other questions from committee? Representative Brody.
Just one, the resolution, though, that will create a statewide formula for everything going forward. Is that what the intent is?
Who's that question directed to?
I don't even know. Yeah, Sam, I guess Sam's the one.
Mr. Watts, recognized.
Yeah.
Sam Watts, Department of State Treasurer. I'll take a stab at it, but my guess is that fiscal staff may have to clean up behind me on what the statewide schedules are. What it essentially does is you have minimums in place for positions that you provide funding to school systems for, and you have maximum for most of those. For some of those, you don't have a maximum. That's not accurate. There are minimums. I'll leave it at minimums, not try to explain the maximum thing. And so this just, I think, better aligns the pension spiking law with the existing public school system salary schedules that are mandated by the state.
Thank you. Any other questions? Seeing none, Representative or Chairman Wheatley is recognized for a motion.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I make a motion that we approve, and you'll have to put in all the other language because I don't know where it goes. or
Chairman Wheatley
anything.
moves that for a favorable report to Senate Bill 729 with a referral to rules. Everybody understands the motion? All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, no. The ayes have it. This is a PCS?
It was back in April.
The ayes do have it. Being the last thing and the only thing on the agenda, we're adjourned.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.